I got a letter. The name on the envelope said, "The Commissar." My ego's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. A fictional character can't write a letter. The Commissar watched that damned movie 3 days ago. So then why am I watching it again? That god-awful scene. What could he mean? The whole movie is god-awful. Did he mean all those stairs? We spent the whole movie there. Just the two of us, waiting for the plot. Could the Commissar really be here? Does he really exist? Waiting for me? Ultramarines. For the first GW-sanctioned 40K movie, they hit one right out of the park. Yeah, and right into the crapper. So, the movie starts off trying to fool us into thinking it has a plot. Then we get this very impressive opening narration by John Hurt.
There is only war.
Which is kind of reminiscent of the Tom Baker opening narration of the Fire Warrior game. Wait, Tom Baker? Wasn't he the 4th Doctor? And John Hurt is slated to be the next Doctor. Connection?
Now drop your weapons, or I'll kill him with this deadly jelly baby.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there are only jelly babies.
All that stands in their way are the mighty Space Marines.
And the Mechanicum, and the Imperial Guard, and the Inquisition, but they don't do anything in the grand scheme of things, right?
And the greatest of them all are the Ultramarines.
Fuck you! So, our first actual scene starts with a pretty cool stained glass version of the 4th edition Codex cover. Once again, trying to lull us into thinking this movie has any respect for the Warhammer setting. We see our main character, a sergeant named Proteus, sparring with the company Captain Severus, played by none other than Terrence fucking Stamp.
You will bow down before me, Jor-El! I swear it!
Gah! That face looks like someone put a Sphinx cat into a dishwasher and then covered it in oil. It's not just this guy either. Every single one of these blue fucks looks like a prolapsed anus. So we see Terrence Stamp put way too much effort into this piece of shit as he gives his men a rousing speech.
You are about to receive the honor of going into combat for the first time as Ultramarines.
Yes, because we all know Ultramarines only use Codex Astartes as a set of guidelines. Their recruits skip the neophyte training phase completely and instantly become battle brothers. Robo Girly Man is turning in his stasis field. Then, we see them make a pledge on a chapter relic, which is also pretty cool up until you realize that the whole scene is fucking ruined by the fact that they call this thing a Warhammer.
You shall make your battle pledges upon this sacred Warhammer.
It's a Thunderhammer, not a Warhammer. In one of the many pointless filler scenes intended to give these characters some personality, we see the squad in a Thunderhawk on the way to planet Mithron as the writers rip off Full Metal Jacket.
It's a huge shit sandwich and we're all gonna have to take a bite.
If you've heard me say pointless filler scenes a lot of times in this review, there's a pretty good fucking reason for that. During this drawn-out scene, we also get introduced to the mediocre plot of this movie that these Marines are off to answer some sort of distress beacon.
Still so eager to be heroes?
Someone has to be apothecary. I heard you turn the job down.
Yep, because we all know that Marines don't venerate their elders, right? Not like we saw a scene less than 10 minutes ago of them worshipping their chapter's Thunderhammer.
Sacred Warhammer.
Thunderhammer! Stop holding on that face! It looks terrible! We also see the justification for the biggest crutch in this movie, as General Zod here tells the pilot to land in the outskirts of the plot due to a weather disturbance over the Citadel.
Set us down here.
So, Thunderhawks can weather entry into a planet's atmosphere, but going through a fart cloud to save us 40 minutes of pointless fucking walking scenes? Nope, we wouldn't have a movie otherwise. As the Marines finally disembark, we also see that the Thunderhawk somehow had a land speeder stored inside of it, even though it's completely against the fluff for it to actually be able to fit in there. I appreciate the writers trying to make the combat more interesting in this movie, but all it really serves is to piss off fans and the viewer once they see its payoff. That's basically this whole movie. Setups that could have been executed to the delight of fans and viewers alike, but end up being completely botched by incompetent writing and direction. Like this goddamn banner, for example. We see that it gets affected by some sort of burning lightning, which we get introduced to as balefire, and the captain here dismisses it as a weather anomaly. It's actually plot critical, but the execution is so poor that it just ends up attracting even more attention to the despicable writing. After about 4 minutes of agonizing filler scenes, we get this pretty cool visual which provides us with a little more backstory as to what happened on this planet. If the most iconic villains can wreak this kind of carnage on a whole company of Imperial fists, then our 10 or so soldiers who, I repeat, have no other combat experience, don't stand a chance. Unfortunately, the scene goes absolutely nowhere. As we're treated to even more pointless fucking walking scenes, tightening the vice on our balls, the Marines defy physics and gravity by walking on a rotten wooden bridge. Space Marines are genetically engineered 9-foot tall soldiers wearing armor as thick as tanks. They each weigh more than most fucking cars, and this movie expects me to ignore this for yet another pointless filler sequence! They then meet up with their land speeder crew, who have been killed off camera without having fired a single shot. But since I have no idea who any of these characters are, I don't give a fuck and end up just getting angrier for having more of my time wasted. Finally, some action! The Marines begin opening fire on a stone tower as one of them dies to an off-screen shooter. Another Marine climbs over a hill as we see our first shot of our villains in this movie, the Black Legion. These Marines were the first betrayers of man. They have fought for over 10,000 years, from the Great Crusades to the strife in the Ocularis Terribus. Each of these warped and hateful men is worth at least a dozen of his loyalist counterparts. And amounted by the fact that we have learned that this is our hero's first mission, this should be a short fight. That's not what I meant! For fuck's sake! This fucking guy slowly climbs up this hill, which the Legionnaire isn't even watching, even though he's the one who laid the ambush. He sees the Marine and instead of killing him on the spot, decides it's much more effective to strike a pose and hiss before getting shot to pieces. Insulting the fans even further, we see another Decacenturion old warrior very slowly trying to assassinate him from behind before he also gets impaled with a chainsword and kicked off a cliff. Oh, and don't try to look for the entry point of that weapon. It's not there. After that travesty, we see our Marines make a woeful waste of their rare and precious bolt ammo, killing the shit out of that empty stone tower, all the while that indestructible wooden bridge absorbs all the force from the recoil. Oh, and we also see the casing of that bullet that was carved on earlier, which makes both scenes, you guessed it, entirely pointless.
So, now we know our enemy.
Chaos Space Marines.
No, really? I thought it was Fluttershy. The fallen Chaos Marine then gets up because apparently he needed a haircut. Well, if you were still alive, then how come you didn't wait 2 goddamn seconds for these fucks to leave and then kill them both from behind? I'm barely over 20 and I can figure this shit out, and you're over 10,000 years old! We then get yet another scene that's supposed to be fan service as Apothecary Goatsy extracts the gene seed from the fallen Marines. However, just like the plot of the movie, he also forgets the 2 land speeder cruisemen. So they have the courtesy of remembering the purpose of apothecaries in combat by remembering neophytes in scout armor, Chaos Marines not being pushovers, and land speeders not being able to fit in Thunderhawks. Oh no, that's way too much for this movie. We need more pointless fucking filler. Fuck! Do something! It's not real. It's not real. So after a scene in which we see General Zod fight a demon prince, which realistically should be able to slay these scrubs in a few minutes, he and the prince fall to their deaths out of the Citadel wall. No, Captain Severus, he had so much personality. At 40 minutes into this film, we finally see John Hurt's character, Chaplain Karnak. This pimp-ass motherfucker tells us that a company of 100 Marines were whittled down to just him and one other brother defending the sacred relic from Chaos Marines. Which actually would have been a way more interesting story, at least compared to an hour of goddamn filler. Now that we have the objective, can we just leave and end this movie? Wait, that means more
Purpose.
At 48 minutes in, we get our first and only war scene. And for a movie based on Warhammer where the tagline is, "There is only war," is simply expected. We see the Marines look like they're gonna make a last stand. And if they all heroically died here, this would actually make for a pretty good climax. The Marines dying off one by one as they defend the holy relic of the Imperial Fists. Nope! Not in this fucking movie though! Instead, we have to suffer over this 5-minute fight scene that has no suspense or tension as the Black Legionnaires literally die by the droves to these goddamn Smurfs.
Burn, heretics!
There is no escaping from chaos. It marks us all. And then, Captain Severus reappears and saves the day. At least we're treated to the only time the chainsaw is depicted accurately, slowly grinding through this helmet as opposed to being instantly punched to the back of a Marine. Back on the ship, Proteus tells Severus that he thinks Karnak is tainted by chaos. They confront Karnak and learn that the relic has no writing in it. Severus calls over the banner bearer because at this point in the movie, the writers have decided that the banner is like the sword Sting and burns when chaos is nearby. It burned when there was no chaos at the beginning of the movie, unless your excuse is that Severus was tainted from the start, but then why wasn't the banner permanently on fire? The demon even dispels this theory by saying he wears the faces of others. So Severus reveals his colors, kills a few Marines, and then makes his way to the hall from the first scene for absolutely no reason. Of course, would you expect any less? Proteus then finds the wounded body of Goochhead here, who somehow actually looks better than he did at the start of the film. He tells him that he needs to go finish off Severus, and wait, why in the fuck is his armor white? I actually had to pause and replay this part in the movie because I thought it was a trick of the light. But nope! The animators gave up on this piece of shit too. Proteus confronts the demon prince, who tells him that he's going to possess him so he can infiltrate Macragge.
Imagine how they will whisper your name after you walk into your chapter house.
He gets saved though by Aena's face here, who suffers for having his head popped off like a Pez dispenser. The demon pins Proteus to the ground, but this time Proteus manages to swat him off like a fly by using Python's head like a weapon. I would get angry over a demon prince being beaten by a squad sergeant, but I've got such a stifling headache right now over this boner devourer of a film that I just want it to be over as soon as possible. So Proteus grabs a thunder hammer and beats the demon prince off in a few hits. Thank God it's almost over.
You shall make your battle pledges upon this sacred Warhammer.
Thunder hammer! Stop trying to pretend this movie has anything to do with Warhammer. Oh, it looks like Warhammer. It sounds like Warhammer. But it's so fucking far off the point that you might as well just call it Barbie's Horse Adventure. At least this nightmare is finally over. No, this nightmare will never be over. As long as this movie exists, we will suffer and continue to suffer. I refuse to believe that. I can help people avoid this movie. I've already made the sacrifice. They will never have to suffer this movie's awful pacing. It's inept writing where it brings up plot points over and over, and its constant disrespect and literal rape of the source material. So no, we will never be able to erase this movie, but we can learn to ignore it, and we can learn from its mistakes. Oh, no! Its pain is forever! Its pain ends with me, just as you do. No! 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 First Red Alert, and then Ultramarines? Sounds like this series just went from hot to cold.